Welcome to Charissa Marie's Maternal Musings. I'm your host, Charissa Marie. Join me for heartfelt conversations with mothers, aunts, and fellow moms who also happen to be entrepreneurs, teachers, doctors, therapists, and more. We'll share profound life advice and wisdom, exploring personal experiences, life lessons, and professional expertise to enlighten, encourage, and empower. Tune in for inspiration and subscribe to join our journey of growth and empowerment. Hello, it's Charissa Marie. All right, so this is another throwback. Remember, not too long ago, I gave you a throwback of 3 lovely married ladies, and we talked about married life and the things of it, good, bad, and otherwise. And I wanted to do a follow-up, so I did. I did a follow-up, but this time I included the perspective of the men. And so on this next video, you will see 2 men and myself have a discussion about being an entrepreneur, really, being a business person, being a husband, being a father, and doing it to the best of our ability and striving to just be great examples for our children. It's a really good video. The 2 people in this video have great influence on me. One, I actually hadn't known long at all. His name is Feridon. He is a wonderful artist, photographer, videographer, filmmaker, and just a very creative person. He was in Virginia. In fact, he did some photos for me while I lived in Virginia. But he goes beyond photos, just very creative. The other person is family. He's actually my cousin. And he is the definition of both of them, really. Live your dreams. Be brave enough to live your dreams. He is a comedian. He's in LA. He writes for television. And he does a podcast, just a creative soul. And they are both wonderful husbands and wonderful parents. So I thought this was a great way to see a guy's perspective. So enjoy this video, and until the next time. And also to kind of keep me on track, because I tend to sometimes stray away from those things at hand. So
no, it's okay.
I'm going to find the questions. I have the questions. All right, so here's my first question. Actually, before we even go there, how about this? How long have each of you been married? We'll go there first.
All right.
I've been married for 3 years and some change now. All of them extremely wonderful, happy, blissful.
Yeah, and in this coming April, it'll be 15 years for me.
Yeah.
And been with my wife this summer, all together about 16 years, but we've known each other really probably more than 20 years, but
okay.
Yeah.
Like Michael and I. So we'll be married for 15 years in April too, which is funny. Yep. April 7th.
April 7th too.
Get out of here.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's April crazy. So yeah, and I've known him for over 30 years. Since when we were probably longer than that if I want to include middle school, but I'm tired of aging myself.
All right.
For a long time. For a long time. But we were never each other's thing. You know what I mean? Like he was always cool and a buddy kind of. It wasn't until my 30s that we were looking at each other like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right. You know, but yeah. So anyway, so let's hop into these questions. And this is kind of cool because we got somebody that's been married for 15 years, somebody that's been married for 3, though. This is perfect. So
yeah.
I'm going to start with Chaz. What is your take on marriage counseling? Like when you get to the point, well, you may not have gotten there yet. You know, it might still feel like honeymoon. And you tell us, but it's like when you know, okay, me either at 3 years, but you know, like you know, when you feel like it looks like you might need a third party, like, what is your take on that?
So I'm 100% for marriage counseling. We haven't done it. I'm actually one of those people like, you know, I don't think there's anything wrong with getting, not even getting, I think a lot of the biggest problem is people have a hard time communicating. I know that I'm a pretty good communicator, maybe from the stand-up, maybe from, you know, being in production and having to communicate. But one of my gifts is being able to tell you how I feel honestly, but funny, you know, so I can always layer in some humor. So when I'm saying it's like, hey, this is the real thing. This is why I'm laughing about it, but this is really how I feel. You know, they're not jokes, but it's easier to tell somebody something when we can both laugh at our own insecurities, right, or our own deficiencies. So, but I think a lot of people, my wife isn't the same communicator as I am. So that's one thing that we've really kind of like headbutt on. I'm like, hey, this is how I'm feeling. I'm willing to talk about it. Where I think she kind of grew up in a way where you don't necessarily say these things because one, you don't want to start a fight. You know, a lot of people won't say something because they don't want to start a problem. They don't want to make a problem bigger. But, you know, I've always been a fan of a few hard conversations lead to a lot more peace, you know, later on. And we both know that we're coming from a place of love. We should know that. So it's like, I'm not trying to fight. Yeah. Right? It's like, it's not a fight. It's just like, let's get on the same understanding, because a lot of it is just a lot of arguments stuff happens from just, you know, miscommunication. The biggest thing. So I'm down for a third party when it's two people learning how to communicate with each other in an effective, healthy way. That's a great thing, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Feridon, what's your take on that?
Yeah, well, you know, like Chaz said, you know, communication is the key. And if, you know, I feel like if you get to that point in your relationship where I think it is best to get counseling before things go, you know, wacky, because sometimes people may wait too late. But, you know, that's something that, you know, you discuss with your significant other about, hey, we're getting to the point where we need some, you know, a third party, because sometimes you can talk to family, you know, but sometimes family is going to be one-sided, you know. You know, your significant other, their parents or whatever may, you know, they're going to probably side with them, but it's like Chad said, you know, it may be good to have somebody that don't know you at all. My wife, she's a believer in marriage counseling, and you know, and because you know she's a psychologist, so she's a believer in that, and it's good, like I said, to have somebody that you don't know, that doesn't know, because you can be biased. Family can be very biased. Like, well, you know, you could be very wrong, and then your family's still like, well, what did you know, blaming the other person, but. That is a good thing, especially, like I said, because you can be fighting over the dumbest things and you realize, you know what, if I set my differences aside or set my views aside and just kind of listen to what my significant other has to say. And I think that's one of the biggest problems in marriages and where people split, because they see it their way or no way sometimes. So I'm definitely for it.
Yeah.
The positive thing that's making my heart smile is that you guys are both African American men, and you're both saying if it's a needed thing, then it's a good thing. Because you know, in our community in general, you know, I'm not telling people my business. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, and you know, and so I think we're evolving as a community, kind of like, all right, listen. And I brought this up last week, but I think it's so deep. I think we probably all kind of need some counseling anyway. Let's just keep it real. There is some post-traumatic in the Black community. Anyway,
a lot.
Okay. Even if it had nothing to do with marriage, I think it would be maybe a good thing. And I believe in it. We haven't, but we brought it up, and we brought it up when things were positive, and we brought it up when we were like, mostly it was me bringing it up, you know what I mean? And now it was a struggle because he's coming from, he's a little old school. It's like, I don't think I think what I had to hear him where he was. And that's part of it too, the listening. So it's I figured he's going to automatically want to talk to a male counselor because he's male. And so here I was trying to find a male counselor, right? Somebody on his team. I thought I was doing a good thing. And he was like, he just broke it down for me one day. He said, actually, and it had to do, I think, with his background too. He grew up he has a father, but you know what I'm saying, but not actively involved like maybe mine was. It's a different setup. So I think a lot of his go-tos were women. His aunts, his mom, all these women. And so what he was saying is he doesn't want another dude like looking at him, judging him. So, but he would listen to what a woman had to say, which I thought that was interesting. I was like, wow. Really? I would thought you wanted somebody on the same, your dude. But but I think it's positive to hear that it's an option for us. So here's my other question. I think I probably should ask this one first. What is the alternative to marriage counseling? And Chaz, you kind of talked about it anyway. Like, I think we're all talking about it. It's about communication, really. But and then Feridon, you also said, like, don't talk to your family. And I think that's right. Don't do that. Because, you got people in your business and then you can be over something and then mom and them are still like,
right.
I mean, and then it's something that they can't let go of, even though you have. So like, what is the alternative? Do you talk to a counselor? I mean, do you talk to like your pastor or a friend or, I'm sure you probably don't want to talk to a female friend. You know what I'm saying? Like what are what are the alternatives if you don't talk to a counselor? Or is there an alternative?
Well, the alternative. So, ironically, my father is my pastor. So, but he's, because I'm gonna be honest with you, I was young when I got married, so I was 23 years old. So, it was, marriage was a learning curve for me. And as I gotten older, I've gotten wiser to learn to listen, just be quiet and listen. But I was fortunate to have my father active in my life and my grandfather active in my life, where they had led by example of how to listen. Because my grandfather, rest his soul, my grandmother used to fuss him out, and he would just be quiet and kind of just shrug his shoulders. But I think that if you have somebody that you can trust, you can't really, because when I was younger, I forgot to mention that I wasn't really about like telling my business, to people, because I didn't want people to judge me. But the more I got older and realized that, if you need help, if you need help, sometimes it's okay. And what you mentioned about the African American males, it's okay to say, "Hey, man, I need some help," because it's marriage. You're not going to get it 100% correct. So it's kind of like a learning curve, as you're going on. You could be married for years, 5 years, 10 years. You still, getting better to make it to work. So I oftentimes talk to my father, and he is. Like he's going to tell me, he's always told me all my whole life, son, if you're right, I can defend you. And if you're wrong, I cannot defend you. And he stood firm on that. And even when I was young, I was like, come on, man, you got to be on my side. And he was just, just a righteous man. He's like, if you're wrong, I can't stand behind you. And I think, in relationships, especially with guys, for me, like even with my wife now, when I know I'm wrong, she points it out to me and just say, later on, I just say, I go to, I apologize and say, hey, I'm wrong. So I think just having that close, somebody that's close to it, maybe your father, somebody, or your grandparent, or maybe your best friend. But sometimes, you don't want to tell, just everybody your business. Some people go on Facebook and just tell everything.
That's the thing too, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest mistake that you can get, because then everybody's in your business. And then that leads to other things, when people see you got problems, and then that opens up a door of, disaster, because, the devil's always busy. So, but that's just my take on that.
Like Facebook is like a sky of Seahawks sometimes. Just
right.
Kind of, you know what I mean? I mean, I hate to say it, like they're watching to see prey falls to the side, and that's sad, but Chaz, what's your take on that?
I think that there's a few true stigmas about men and women and in marriages, right? Like, I've never been one for, like, I have no problem admitting that I'm wrong. I was 33 when I got married. I'm 36 now, right? So I kind of knew me a lot more as a mature me.
There you go.
So it was easier for me to be like, oh, I'm an idiot and I know it, But when you're 20 and you think, I have no problem. I'm like, hey, I know I'm stupid. You got to break stuff down.
Right.
I just may not get it, And I have a bigger. I went into my marriage with a bigger humility than I would have in my 20s.
Right.
And I can know that my wife is smart, but because my wife, she would not admit when she's wrong. It's not happening. Okay. My wife rather fake a heart attack than admit that she's wrong. Okay. Which is fine.
I think I'm not gonna say that, but that's a lie. It's all lies.
Now here's where I would be wrong. And this is what I've kind of gotten. I got, like, we all have a certain pride about how we feel about certain things, correct? Which is fine with me. I don't need her to acknowledge or admit that she was wrong. I don't need her to apologize and say that she was wrong. If I send it to her and she's read it, whether it's a text, because some people, and some people communicate better. I have no problem writing something down or verbally speaking it, whatever somebody receives something better, as long as they can take time, analyze it, and then we can talk about it later. It doesn't bother me how we communicate, So I don't need her to go, like, some people want you to, like, admit you're wrong. Like, I don't need it. Like, that's an argument that I don't need to have. I don't, I said my piece. There was no more argument. There was no rebuttal on her end, right? She didn't say, but such and such. So we have an understanding that, I made my point, and I don't need to keep, like, nagging you for a concession. I don't need to nag you for at a minute. So, because I want her to also be able to come to me and realize that same thing when I think about my daughter. I don't want her to feel pressure to lie because she feels there's going to be an argument somewhere, or I want her to have this safe environment of being like, yo, I messed up, here, X, Y, Z. Hey, I might have overlooked your feelings, where there's no repercussions in our marriage. It shouldn't be a thing where she's afraid to tell me something for whatever reason, and that I'm gonna go off and punch a hole in the wall or yell at her.
Yeah.
So I try to protect her own ego as well, and not make her feel like, okay, I'm not gonna tell him this next time because I don't want to hear X, Y, Z. I want her to be like, you can have whatever you want communication wise. I'm not gonna argue with you as long as I put that there. You read that, right? Then we're good. So then you just want to see change, right? You just want to see, the change is the active. Yeah, I saw what you're doing. So if you see the change, I don't need the I'm sorry, man. I don't. I used to want the I'm sorry. I'd rather take the behavioral change than the actual, verbiage. So that's how I kind of look at it now. I go, because is the I'm sorry for her, or is it for me? Do I feel better for her to be like, yeah, I got that win? Like, there's no scoreboard, No one's even,
Chaz, it could be the plus in marrying later. See, because you're mature enough to kind of see things in a different perspective, and know kind of when to walk away. When the battle is not worth it.
Right. I mean, I read a bunch of books on myself. I got a chance to kind of fix me. before I went into a relationship thinking I need to fix somebody else, right? So I'm
Right.
glad I got a chance to have that. You know, at 33, it's a lot different than you at 23. You know,
Man, it's a big difference, man. It's a big
Right.
difference. It's a big difference. Yeah, I'm
So
38 now, so
Yeah.
how old are you now?
I'm 38.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Oh shoot.
Yeah, 38.
I'll be.
And I'm sure there's times you look back and you go, "Dang, why did I say that?" Or what was
Yeah,
that?
why would
You
you
know?
even? Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what's so funny is like I looked at different things that used to bother me so much, like in that first few years, like I would go to bed stressed out about it.
Right.
And now I'm like, what was that? Really? It could be so much worse. But as far as me talking to people, I'm fairly private because this is kind of a different platform. But you know, when it comes to my my husband and stuff, I'm really private. So my go-to person, believe it or not, is my mom. And that's because, and Chaz, you've met Mom. So she's a very fair individual. You know what I mean? She will let me know I'm wrong. She'll say, Carissa, no. You know, but and then she also will say, well, Michael, you know, she's just kind of, you know, but she's so sweet about it in her delivery to us, you know what I mean, that we can hear it and it makes us reconsider what the heck we were thinking when we said those things that came out of our mouths, or what were we doing? So it is kind of good to have somebody, but yes, there are select people, like some people don't go tell birth in them or whatever, because, you know, they might get on Facebook, you know what I'm saying, and put all your business out there. Just don't do that. But in Facebook, and that wasn't a question, but here's a whole nother thing. Social media, you know what I mean? Maybe not so much for us, but I believe I've seen social media play a negative impact on people's lives. You know what I mean? And I hate to see that. You know what I mean? I hate to see how that happens. And I think it could be avoided. But it's a whole new generation now. That's how we communicate, is social media. And so like even me, I'm very careful. I'm pretty surface, because anything else too deep I don't share, because it's like very personal. You might see pictures of me and my kids, whatever, but I'm not gonna say things like all men go to hell or something. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not, I'm not gonna that way, because then they'll say, oh, and then the vultures come. Oh, what's happening? I might get DMs, like, you know, from people I don't need to be getting, you know. So it's like, how does social media, and maybe not for the three of us, and I think too, Chaz, we have a particularly interesting, I don't know how you can do this. So Chaz, by the way, is a comedian. I may have been, and I can't see how I'm not a comedian. I'm a funny person, and sometimes I like to talk about life stories about my family, but my family is horrified by that. You know what I mean? They're like, don't do that. Oh my, now everybody knows your father cusses. Everybody knows Dad cusses, but you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, how do we do the social media thing and separate it from our personal life effectively, so that nobody gets burned and we are playing by the rules, whatever that is? How do we do that?
Yeah. You know what's funny? My wife, I told her from the beginning, I said, if you're going to be married to me, it's jokes over everything. I told her from jump, from the very beginning, you got to know that it's not personal by any means. And I think that I let her in on the fun, you know, because, you know, being able to laugh at myself first is what I always do. I always make fun of myself first, right? And then if I'm making fun of us, it's just because of how we're different. You know, I go, my wife she's a Latina, she's Mexican. She was born in Mexico. She's been here since she was 2. She was raised in South Central. She's been raised around all Black people. And I make fun of her a lot because I was like, I was trying to get a Latina and you more Black than blah, blah, blah. We make all these jokes all the time because she's very, very pro-Black, which is great, right? And she respects the culture. Was one of the big reasons. I thought she was mixed when I first met her because of the way she was talking. Then I heard her speak Spanish. And I was like, I don't know who you are. Like, I don't know what's happening, you know? So, you know, so for me, because even in a multicultural relationship, it's way more things that are different. So I go like, this is stuff for me. As a comedian, I go like, oh, this is great. You know, I have a whole new world that I'm being introduced to. And then I get to use my ignorant brain to go tell people. But I also make sure that when I talk to her, she knows how much I care about her. She knows how much I respect her. You know, it's like there's the time to make fun of stuff, and then here's our every single day life, which should be way heavier than this. You know, I got to make sure I'm putting way more hours into our everyday. I love you, respect you, and then here's a few jokes. You know, so hopefully it never even comes to a question of her of like, because I say horrible, inappropriate things for money, you know? People pay me to say the worst things. And then when I use her, she just has to know this is the job, this is the gig. Like
that's what it is.
You know, and you have to be okay with it. Otherwise, it'll ruin, you know, so you got to find somebody. For me, they got to be strong enough. My parents, when I use them, it's been so long now that I've been using them that they just kind of take it. You know, but in the beginning, I was kind of like, I have to be honest. I have to open up, and this is the job. You know, if you want to, my job is to tell people what I think is funny from my point of view. That's 100% my job. So, you know, if you bring them money, they forgive you.
Well, see, I don't have an excuse because what I do don't bring in no money. So they like, don't be putting nothing. Listen, I'm the church lady. That's all you got to tell the people. I'm the church lady. That's all you tell the people.
Well, making fun of my family pays bills. So I go,
right, you can do that. So you have that excuse. Right. I'm not there. Okay, so next question. When there is a breakdown, honestly, all these kind of flow into really one. When there's a breakdown in understanding each other, how do you and your partner cope at that very moment? And I think we've already pretty much talked about that, but when there was a breakdown, and so I don't even want to do that question because we kind of talked about that. Okay, hold on. I mean, you can answer it if you like. Who's got answers for that? Like if there's a breakdown right then, what?
I have a question. I have a question for Feridon. Can I ask you a question, bro?
Yeah, go ahead.
When you guys have an argument and it's like a bad argument, I'm sure you've had some bad arguments.
Oh yeah.
What's like the first step to going? Here's like what's the peace treaty steps? What's the steps in like, hey man, we went at war. Both countries are taking the hits. How do you start mending fences?
I tell people all the time, if anybody sit here and tell you, and they've been married for a long time, and say, yeah, man, everything is, we don't never argue. Everything's peachy. And I look at them with a side eye like, come on, man. You don't have to lie to me. But yeah, when you love somebody as much and you understand you're going to have some disagreements, and that's what, that comes with the territory. And, we've had some arguments, but, as me, y'all going to laugh. What I do is, so to bring back, I know, I'm sitting there, like, let's say, I go and sit on the couch or what have you, and, she's in the room or whatever, and I'm sitting there like, man, I gotta go kind of like make small conversation, like, hey, it's gonna rain tomorrow, try to make that small conversation, but but you know how women are though, so they're not going to let you forget what happened. So she'll say, yeah, it's going to rain, but she's looking at me waiting for me to say something. So then, we get, so our little coping thing, I come in and we just kind of just rewind a little bit and just kind of unwind and realize, all right, so look, all right, where can we meet in the middle, or where can we come to an agreement about what we had a disagreement about? And even things when bad things happen, like, because sometimes, you may not be, everything's not arguing, but life things happen. And people don't believe it or not, I think the statistic said over half of marriages end up in divorce over finances.
Yeah.
You know, I've been in situations where, you know, like my grandfather passed away. My wife, you know, she was, you know, cope with me there, just, you know, gave me words, and her grandparents passed away. And it's, you know, those are moments that you got to really hone in on, you know, just really support them and let them know that, you know, hey, I love you. Because, you know, when bad things happen like that, you know, death, and it's really not too much, even with my spouse, it's really not too many words you can say to them to, you know, but you just let them know support, you know, you support. But the arguments, I just come in, you know, I'm a little bit of a comedian too. I like to make a little jokey joke here and there. I'd like to make her laugh, and our relationship actually started off on laughter. So our first date night, we went to see Talladega Nights with
great.
Ricky Bobby,
Will Ferrell.
Will Ferrell. So, you know, our relationship started on that. So we try to laugh, and you know, trying to make ourselves, you know, come back to, you know, a center point where we can have an understanding of, you know, of each other and of what's taking place. So, yeah.
Cool.
You know, so funny that kind of goes into what I was gonna ask from you guys. Like, how do you keep the joy in your relationship when you've been married for a minute?
I can honestly answer that, and I'm gonna use what my father said. If you stay on your honeymoon, it's gonna be good. You know, as soon as you get off that honeymoon. So 15 years, I'm still on my honeymoon. And you know, when you first get married, you're really excited, right? When you've been married for a while, you still have to remember why you married that person and what made you have like for me, like when I was 11, my wife was actually my crush. So she's 4 years older than I am. But, you know, so she was working and everything at the food line. I used to see him like, man. And I used to tell, I went to school with a sister. And all the boys used to tell her, say, man, tell your sister. And she was like, I ain't telling my sister nothing. So finally, when I got grown, when I was like, yo, did your sister ever tell you the messages I said? She was like, no. So I always look back to why. And I was like, man, she was like technically my dream girl, you know. I always wanted to, you know, be with her. And so I keep that in my mind and back in my mind all the time, even when arguments like, look, man, this is who I wanted to be with. You know, after we got older, I'm the one to pursue her, you know, so she was minding her business. So I got to keep that in mind that, hey, I pursued her. It wasn't the other way around. So
you asked for this.
I asked for this. So I got to solve the problem. So, but yeah, so that's how it is. And, you know, we stay on the honeymoon. We laugh all the time. And I think, you know, with our new bundle of joy, you know, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so old now. We just had a baby. But we both cried when we found out she was pregnant. Because, you know, my oldest will be 14 this year. My middle child, my son, he'll be 10 this year. And she, you know, was pregnant. We was like, oh my God. But we came together, and, you know, that was a real good moment. Because, you know, all types of things run through your mind. It's like, man, you know, because I was preparing. My daughter's going to high school. My son going to school, you know. And then it's like, bam. Oh, man, I got to do this all over again. But I just, in my mind, this is one thing I do, and I don't know if she knows it, and I probably said to her, but she is, you know, but she is my wife, but she is my girlfriend, the lady on the side, you know, she, you know, all of that. So when I look at her as all of that, and that kind of, every time I see her, even now, 15 years later, you know, I still get excited. When I see her. So I work all the time.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, I work all the time. So I'm filming pictures, or I'm working, so I'm gone a lot. So, you know, and I come on, oh, I'm good to see you, hug you, whatever like that. But that is a thing that I do. Just keep that in mind that, hey, I pursued her, and if I keep in mind, hey, you know, because we get older, you change, you don't look the same, you know. You know, it's a whole lot that goes in a relationship. People divorce people because they done gained a little weight, you know, or their hair got a little gray, you know. So, but you always have to look back. Well, this is why we got together.
So you're like living the dream because you married your dream girl.
Dream girl. She was
that right there. Just
and I was so excited. And and y'all gonna laugh. We ran into each other at a gas station. And this is before social media, flip phones. I'm gonna tell you how long ago that was. I asked her for a number. I said, hey, let's, try to be slick. Hey, let's stay in touch, boom. And I was so nervous that I was like, let me make sure she gave me the right number. So as soon as I left, I was on the road and I dialed her phone. I saw her go look down at it. I said, all right, good, we good.
Oops, my bad.
Yo, my fault. A butt dodge, my fault. Yeah, man. But that's my take on it, man. And you just have to live through every moment, the good, the bad. Because honestly, we've had more good days than we had bad days, and I think that's what, as a couples, they need to really look at that and say, look, are we really going to let what's going on in front of us, outweigh all the good times we had? So that's how I look at it,
That's great.
Yeah.
Oh, that was so inspirational.
Yeah.
So here is something I think is really, 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 really important. Let's talk about loving yourself, that self-care. Because without self-care, like, how are you any good to your partner? Because that's your partner for life you've chosen. So what do you all do for self-care? Like for me, I'll start. I have to admit I am terrible at self-care. And maybe because I'm a woman. You know what I mean? I'm terrible at self-care because I wake up about 5 o'clock in the morning. And my first thought isn't even really me. It's like I got to go down and stick in the kitchen and make sure, to get the kids' lunch together, get breakfast together, all this stuff. And homework, I want to make sure nobody is repeating a grade, all that. So, so it's things like that. And then when you get older and when you get to be like my age, then your parents they need you more. And so doing things, 100 miles away, trying to make sure I'm taking care of someone. And then I forget about self-care. And I realize, if I'm being honest, when I forget about self-care, I'm probably a little more spicy. I'm probably a little more harder to deal with because I didn't take a minute to love on myself. And so if my husband says something just a little bit off, he gets the deal and it's not his fault, and it's not even, it's not as deep as I made it. But so I'm personally working on trying to find ways to do self-care. Do you guys do anything like for self-care?
Yeah, well, for one, my job is fun. I sit in the room and I make jokes all day, and I go home and I make jokes all day, and I play a lot of video games. And I took like it took me about 15 years to make my day job. I mean, my job now, my fun job. So I think like I don't have the same stresses. I don't wake up to an alarm clock. I don't wake up at 5 and have to. I haven't woke up to an alarm clock in years, So, I get a chance to really, do whatever I want to do for the most part. If I want to go get a massage at 1 o'clock, I can go do that. I don't have, so I do it a lot. I do it so much that it irritates my wife. Like, she's like, must be nice. I'm like, it is. You should do this way more often. Like, it's great. And then like I said, like video games were always one of those things that I can go unwind. It's just decompression. You just decompress for a little bit.
Yeah.
And not that my job is easy, it's work, but it's still fun. It's even when it gets stressful, it was still better than when I was at UPS or loading luggage. It was like it's still the most fun type of thing that I can do. But I try to tell her, like, when I come home and I see a mess, I go like, hey, that ain't going nowhere. I'm going to go do it later. Let me go. I always put fun first. She comes home from work and she sees more work and she's like, I got to go do more work. And I'm like, that ain't going nowhere. There's time. I'm like, I can do it. But I'm not going to do it now. I'm gonna go decompress. I'm gonna go hang out with the kid. I'm gonna go get her ready, and I'm gonna go make sure that, like, my, you feed your soul. I'm always trying to like feed my soul first. Like, let's go be happy. I'm like, these dishes ain't going nowhere. Like, you know.
That's good.
So yeah, I try to make all day a fun thing.
Yeah, and I think for me, I'm a big advocate for what we call me time. You know, as for my wife, you know, obviously we had a new baby. I always tell her, you know, I try to, you know, when I'm holding him, or, you know, I tell her, hey, do not go clean anything, go rest, or, you know, just, you know, take care of yourself or whatever. But, you know, I don't want her working or anything like that. But it's important, you know, I think if you do not take care of yourself in a relationship, you know, you kind of neglect yourself, then you'll start feeling, you know, some type of way. You know, for me, one of the things I did back in January, I went on this fitness journey because I was like, look, man, and I had gained all this weight, and I was, you know, I was like, look, this is what I'm gonna do for myself, you know, because I was like, I need to be around for my family, you know. So I lost over 40 pounds. And
congratulations! I've been checking it out. That's big.
Yeah, so I lost over 40 pounds and started getting fit. But, you know, that's one of the things I wanted to do for myself. But it's for myself, but it's really for my family, because I was like, I need to get healthier, you know. But you know, things like, you know, my wife getting her hair done, you know, that's important, you know, because when you even with guys, when you get your hair cut, you feel better. So if she gets her hair done, or, you know, you know, my haircut or whatever, you know, you feel better about yourself. You know? I think that you don't never want to neglect, no matter what's going on, how many kids you got, your work, because, you know, you can go to work and your work can stress you out, and then you come home and you just, you know, I was going to go get my nails done or go get my hair cut, but then you keep putting it off. No, go get your hair done, get your hair cut, because that is going to make you feel better. It's going to help release some of that stress that you got going on from your work. Because, you know, you know, depending on what you're doing, you know, work can be stressful, can be if you allow it. I always say that, if you allow it. But, you know, for me, you know, I enjoy what I do, because I look at what I do as an art. So that's kind of self-relieving for me, because you know, I have a creative mind. So like when I'm creating things, and you know, that's kind of like my me time, you know. But I want to let her know it's, you know, because I want to release some stress off of her. So what I do too also is I'm the cook in the house. So I cook the meals and everything in the house. I've been doing that since we've been together, and that's one thing she doesn't have to worry about is, you know, food. So I do that, and that's because I always promised her. I said, look, when our kids are young, babies, if you could take care of them while they're babies, and not meaning like she's just doing everything on her own, but I was like, as they get older, you know, I'll bus them, you know, to their sporting events, their little whatever they're in, and cause she'll tell you, I honor that word. My son plays basketball, my daughter's into art and all this stuff, and I rip and run the road because I made that commitment to her. So that gives her a break, you know, that she doesn't do it. And I tell her, do not do any work. If the dishes in the sink, I don't care. We'll get them later. I want you to just kind of take some time. Yeah. That takes some time to yourself, because like Chaz said, it's gonna be there. But if you constantly working. You know, our life, you're not supposed to be just working. You gotta have some time for yourself. And that's why people have sicknesses, you know, high blood pressure and all that, because they're stressing and not really taking time for yourself. So,
you guys, let me just say, I am so good at picking the right people for the right talk. Really, I'm just like, I'm just saying, like. This was so perfect, and you know what? And I haven't known Feridon very long at all, but I immediately got an impression on how he felt about us. I'm really in tune to. I pay attention, you know what I mean? And I thought, what a lovely thing, you know what I mean? And then Chaz is just a beautiful person, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I can tell.
I mean, Chaz is a beautiful person, and then he's funny. So I just know he's doing things, you know what I'm saying, that people need to take notes too. So I'm just so glad that you guys were both able to do this with me. I appreciate it so much. And Chaz came back because I had him on before, and he's so busy. I was like, I don't know, but I'm just gonna put it out there. What the worst that can happen? So I thank you guys. This was a really good talk, and so I hope people will take notes, and if they weren't able to see this live, they will, review this, because I think it lets people feel okay talking about it, especially if it's coming from men. Black men.
Right.
I think kind of, maybe they don't want to watch it next to somebody right now, but maybe they'll be in bed like,
yeah.
And get some knowledge, you know what I mean? Which is really cool. It
can be really tough. Like, it's a lot, we always talk about like balance, right? We always talk about balance and you're trying to balance your career, your love life, making sure your family's happy. You do always want to put people before yourself, right? And I don't like, when me and my wife got married, I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell my father, my mother. I didn't want a lot of outside voices, honestly, because I said, man, there's only one person in my marriage that's not me, and it's her. And so that's the only person I really talk to about, not that I don't respect other people's opinions. I just go like, the more I understand her and the more that, we can speak to each other, not rudely, but honestly. I always try to make it like, I just want her to be able to feel safe and comfortable. And it's the same thing with black trying to get black men to open up. Cats feel like you about to, man, you gonna bring this up later, you gonna roll some cats, Like, it gets hard. There's some cats with them I'm never gonna tell if I have an issue. I'll never bring this up to them,
One of the worst things black men can do is hold everything in. I think that's the biggest problem in our community, the African American male community, is holding stuff in. And
trying to be tough.
I come home to my wife, I have long days where I'm just like, she's my best friend, so I talk to her, like, and she'll just listen, even if she doesn't have an answer right then and there, she just listens. So I was like, there's somebody, I just got to get this off my chest. But I think guys, man, we just hold stuff in, and just it bundles up, and then you're angry, and then then you're snapping on your family, you're snapping on your kids, because you just have all this stuff bottled up in you. So, but yeah, man, I really appreciate this. And Chaz, look, I might have to slide you on one of my films, man. We do all.
Man, I'll be more than happy to come to Virginia, bro. I'll be more than happy to.
Yeah, where you from?
I'm in LA now. I'm from Michigan, but I've been out here a long time. I've been out here since like 2006.
Oh, okay.
And man, what you're doing there, and I wish I had somebody in Michigan who built a studio, and I didn't have to move away from my family. You know what I mean? I've been away from my family. Carissa,
long time.
I've been gone for a long time. I was 20 when I left, and so just seeing my family get older and having to make these rare trips. I was like, man, what you're doing is great, man. People don't have any idea, how much it's gonna mean in 5 to 10 years, 15 years when you're building and you created what you created.
I appreciate that.
I didn't have to move away, man. It's great, bro. I'm down to help any way possible, any way I can.
No question.
Look at me. See, I knew it. And now you have each other's contact information because it's in the description in YouTube.
Okay. All right.
Great.
You can link up, and you're both beautiful souls. I'm just I'm just good at getting the right people together. But I'm just so thankful, and this was a great talk. I want to do this again.
Yeah.
So I know you guys have things to do. You have a baby to tend to. You have a baby to tend to. Everybody got things to do.
Yeah.
So, thank you so much for coming on tonight.
Pleasure.
Yep. It was definitely fun. Pleasure.
That was fun. So now we'll see you guys on the social media. We all over the place.
Yeah.
All right, you all. You have a good night.
All right.
All right.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Carissa.
You're welcome.
Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe, and find me on Instagram at I am Charissa Marie. Also on YouTube at Charissa Marie Wants You to Be Free. Please hit that notification bell, like, comment, and share. Thank you for your support, and let's make 2024 amazing. Thank you so much for coming. We will see you the next time. Bye.